From the hardcore streets of NYC, Deadly Art of Survival. Magazine, 2nd edition, December 2021. The Legend of Sijo Abdul Mutakkabir. Sosama Firefox. Hero martial arts police officers and outstanding East Coast instructors. A tribute to the late George Crayton. Rest in peace. Thank you to our 15,000 subscribers for all your support. Our staff: Robert Lee Lewis, Mildred C. Gonzalez, Blake King, Jackie Fung. Creators: Nathan Ingram, Jacob Ingram, Chastity Ingram. Contact us, 551-245-7120. Founder and creator, Nathan Ingram Shidoshi. Street legend and concrete warrior. 1. What does the martial arts mean to you, and when did your martial arts journey begin? Martial arts is my life, not some kind of hobby or sport that's practiced on occasion. I am more than a martial artist. I consider myself to be a martial scientist who commits everything I do to enhance my martial arts skills. At SWAM, we have a philosophy we live by: practice your PTW, pray, train, and work. Always pray to live an honorable life, train to stay ready, to always be prepared, and work to improve your character as righteous warriors. My martial arts journey began at the age of 11, around 1962, over half a century ago. I was introduced to martial arts when my older sister took me to a dojo in hopes of getting me interested in the martial arts. My sister was concerned about my aggressive behavior and hoped that this disciplinary training would provide guidance to manage my temper during my tween era while growing up in the rough streets of Harlem in New York City. But if you want to know when I started my warrior journey, let's take this a step back a couple of years. I was born in 1951 in Harlem among 6 siblings. 5 of those siblings were brothers. Although I was reared under 2 loving parents, being second to the youngest, my household experience was interesting. You can say Jedi warrior training started immediately, having a father and uncle who were professional boxers, along with having 2 powerful brothers who were 20 years old. Earning my alpha dog stripes was naturally instilled as a toddler, as fighting was in my blood. I don't remember being afraid of much, as my warrior instinct developed very early. So at age 11, having a short temper and being out of control at times was normal for a child growing up in the ghetto. Actually, I recall at the tender age of 8 fighting almost every other day while coming from school, playing outside with my friends, or going to the corner store. By the time I was 11, my sister thought martial arts could calm the fury in me, which, ironically, at first, martial arts only released more of my aggressive fire. Initially, I was not interested when I was told to consider martial arts training, as I thought people who fought with kicks were punks. However, when I visited a martial arts school for the first time, I became intrigued with the discipline and mystical aura of the environment. Although my family could not afford to pay for my participation in training, this setback didn't discourage me from developing my own martial arts training regimen, as it was in my blood to always be a fighter. I self-created my own analogy of martial arts through what I read in books and saw in movies. I would train daily, developing my own homemade skills. Making sure these skills I developed were effective, I would practice on my friends and younger brother. Of course, this was not a good thing for them, being my personal punching bags. Once I matured into my teens, my techniques became sharper. Tired of getting beaten, my friends would search for other individuals to challenge me in hopes of watching me get beat. It was at that time that I was developing the reputation known as Shutobari. This name came from my signature karate chop that I often demonstrated during these sparring matches when I would often beat my opponents. As Shutobari, I was ruthless and fearless, a merciless part of my character that was being developed as a young street fighter living in Harlem. Even at that young age, me, as Shutobari, would conduct what seemed to be some supernatural, mythical activities to test my mind's strength, such as sticking my hands inside the furnace, pulling out hot burning coals, picking up broken glass, as well as smashing bricks through karate chops. I would try to mimic and relate to the martial arts warriors I saw in the movies. Basically, I learned my lessons anywhere I could, since I couldn't train under a traditional dojo. By the mid-60s, my family moved to the Bronx, where I was able to start my quality training. This quality training occurred once I found the great legendary Supreme Grand Master Monroe Morrow, currently known today as the late great Supreme Grand Master Abdul Musawir. I trained under this iconic martial artist at the Dynamic Karate Studio at 167 Sherman Avenue in the Bronx. It was at this karate studio where I studied the Yun Mukwan karate system, and where Shutobari entered into the tournament world and transformed into Savage Jackson. 2. Tell us about your tournament days as Savage Jackson, and later as Sijo Mutakkabir. Under the guidance of Musawir, my skill set was being better defined, with proper techniques that I was soon able to test among some of the most talented martial artists within the New York tri-state areas, as Savage Jackson. Fighting is very natural for me, which it should be, as I fought all my life, but now, as a skillful, unmerciful fighter with a purpose, I became unimaginably vicious as I had my school's flag to defend. Toward the end of the 1960s, I would attend tournaments that were referred to as the Arena of Pain, which included Sunnyside Garden, Manhattan Center, and several city colleges. I competed against individuals such as Hawk Fazer, K.A. Brothers, Earl Monroe, Richard Brown, Lil John Davis, Fred Miller, Robert Harrison, and many other hardcore martial artists. This was when skills were met with brutality. It was common to see someone receive a broken body part, jaw, ribs, leg, arm, etc. Whenever these events occurred, you could expect to find ambulances in the back waiting for the injured to be carried out. Fighters had to spar inside small rings, not getting the opportunity to run or play tag. They were forced to be fast and accurate with their strikes, as any hesitation may result in getting you severely hurt. The judges were the legends, such as Supreme Grandmaster Moses Powell, Grandmaster Frederick Hamilton, and other masters. Body protective gear was considered a sign of weakness, no mouthpieces, gloves, or groin cups. Only tape was used to cover the knuckles and toes. During that time, late 60s, early 70s, these tournaments would occur on both days of the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, in which we would, on average, fight between 7 to 10 opponents per tournament. Now, do the math. That would be approximately 15 to 20 fights per weekend, if you were successful. Within these events, you were considered a great fighter just by reaching the finals. I was a green belt when I started competing in these tournaments, and under the instruction of Morrow, I grew into a young, powerful black belt. By the 70s, I exposed myself to learn other systems, and developed my own school where I would train my own students, who were mostly family members and friends. My expanded training was under GM Min Kyu Pai, GM Musawir's instructor, along with Sifu Chiu Chun Lun and GM Raymond Nelson from the 7-star Praying Mantis system. The next step for me, as a martial artist, was to move on my own, legitimately, by opening a real school, not training my students in my mom's backyard, but having a place that required a key to open a dojo. I would call this school Mind and Fist. At the age of 20, I was incarcerated for participating in foolishness. This deviant activity I was involved in was due to trying to acquire funds to obtain that dream in opening a school in a storefront in Laurelton, Queens. After being released, a couple of months later, still holding on to that dream, I was able to fulfill it by opening my school. Along with opening my first dojo, I also converted to a Muslim, where I was given the name Abdul Mutakkabir. I was no longer referred to as Savage Jackson, and at the peak of my prime, because of religious duties, I withdrew from the tournament world. My thirst for knowledge grew even stronger as I started training under legendary Supreme Grandmaster Moses Powell, Sanusis Ryu Jujutsu, while still learning under Min Kyu Pai, Morrow, Raymond Nelson, and others. Fast forward to approximately another decade, when I modified my system to the Fujuka boxing system, combining Kung Fu, Jiu-Jitsu, Karate, and the kickboxing systems. I built the Fujuka boxing system once my knowledge became more defined within the Wing Chun, Hung Ga, Lama Pai, Choi Lai Foot, Aikido, and kickboxing Muay Thai systems. Although converting from Savage Jackson to Abdul Mutakkabir has not altered my desire to build my knowledge as a martial artist, however, as a Muslim, indulging in getting high and participating in any deviant foolish activities was no longer a part of my character as Abdul Mutakkabir. My religion, my family, and my training became my life. I would dedicate every free time to train, which sometimes required traveling from one martial arts school to another within that same day. 3. When did you create SWAM Martial Arts Academy? Eventually, I returned back into the tournament world around 1975 as Abdul Mutakkabir, with the purpose to teach Islam through my example as a Muslim martial arts warrior. I never fought for fame nor prestige, just to be known as a good brother in the hearts of men. By 1977, I collaborated with GM Sheldon Wilkins, and together we created SWAM Martial Arts Academy. This newly created system, known today as SWAM, consists of various forms of karate, kung fu, jujutsu, and kickboxing. SWAM is best viewed as a unique hybrid system that quickly became respected among many high-level martial artists. The word SWAM is the acronym, which originally stood for Sheldon Wilkins Abdul Mutakkabir. Both of us at the time were two respected East Coast champions of the martial arts tournament circuit. To be specific, I was holding New York State Triple Crown champion for 10 consecutive years within the semi-contact karate tournaments. The current acronym for SWAM varies from Sijo Abdul Mutakkabir to Soldiers with a Mission. My wife, Nakwavaha Mutakkabir, aka Dr. Odette Russell, Sidagu, created her own division of SWAM, which means Sister Warriors Against Madness. 4. How many systems have you trained under? I have trained under several systems, seeking out knowledge from whomever I can. I am not in the business of collecting belts or ranks. I am only interested in developing knowledge that will provide me with a better understanding of the martial arts and science. This understanding can come only one way, through dedicating years within each of these systems that I've trained under until I mastered them. Additional systems I trained under once I moved to Atlanta, Georgia in 1991 included Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Tai Chi. My lack of interest in belt collecting is why I've never stated my ranks or wear a belt unless for ceremonies. When one reaches these high degrees